DTC Live On Air is powered by Bright Pill by Sage. In this episode, we're going to be talking to Harry, e-commerce manager for heritage brand Henri-Lloyd. We're going to be discussing all things around e-commerce, how you should be using AI to help your day-to-day, what it means for a heritage brand to kind of revitalise and come back into the e-commerce space, what it means to really know who your customer is and the target demographic, and so much more. So hopefully you enjoy it. Harry, thank you so much for joining us. So you're e-com manager at Henri-Lloyd. Tell me a little bit about Henri-Lloyd for those that aren't maybe or haven't heard of the brand before, and a little bit about what you do there.
Great, yeah, thank you for having me. So Henri-Lloyd is a sailing performance brand. We specialise in technical sailing gear, everything from kind of like offshore to right to inshore sailing. We are really striving to be innovative and to be at the forefront of the sailing industry and technical apparel, and really striving to be the sailor's choice in sailing gear.
And for there's been a bit of a recent evolution, hasn't there, with Henri-Lloyd? How would you describe where you are today compared to where you were 10 years ago?
I think 10 years ago is probably quite a good range to compare us to, because right now we're trying to go back to who we are really as a brand and our roots, essentially. We are a technical sailing brand at heart. There have been a few years when perhaps we let our foot off the gas in some areas, but we're now here and we're back to being what we do best, which is technical apparel, which is sailing wear, offshore sailing wear, and trying to be at the forefront of that in a customer's mind.
How have you found that transition for your customers? Because I was telling you before, I used to wear the Henri-Lloyd polo shirts 10 years ago with my Topshop skirts and my Ugg boots when I was in college. Do you find that you've got a customer that's lasted throughout this whole journey and evolution, or are you now having to reinvent and retarget and create that new customer base again?
It's kind of all of the above, really. We have that customer base that is like you, that is knows us from maybe 10, 20 years ago, that sort of thing, and it's more lifestyle clothing, like you mentioned, the polo and the rugby shirts and the jackets and that sort of thing. But we also then have the customer that knows us from 40 years ago, 50 years ago, and they are the ones that remember us for our waterproof jackets. Mm-hmm. We were down in Cowes recently, actually, and we were just on a bit of a team sailing trip, and we were just in a bar having a few beers after the day, and a guy came up to us and he had his sailing jacket that he sailed around the world in 40, 50 years ago, and he still had the jacket. Oh. So it's a kind of a mix of the two customer bases, really. But for us, it's exciting because we can recapture and reclaim that initial customer that wanted us for the technical sailing wear, but also it's about how can we service the people that know us for the polos, for the marine classic kind of clothing, and making sure that we are being true to ourselves and where we know we need to take the brand going forward. But also it's about still not making that customer base that probably knows us from a slightly more recent history and alienating them. Yeah.
And how's that journey showing up in online in the stories and things that you're telling? Are you trying to pull through all of the heritage piece more now than ever, or what does that look like?
So for us, it's about sailing first, but how can we make sailing content that everyone wants to see? I have sailed, but I'm not a sailor. And for us, the way I think about it is we need to be putting out content that I'm going to find interesting as someone that doesn't know everything about sailing. So whether that's, cool videos of sailing, racing or crashing or things like that, they're still relevant, still grab the emotion of someone. But you don't have to know everything about sailing to really understand. So I think it's just about putting cool, emotional content out there that people can, even if they don't necessarily resonate and understand the whole of sailing, they still think is cool and is interested and emotive.
And has that changed in terms of the age range and the group that you're targeting as well with that type of content, or are you trying to go after that newer customer?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both. I mean, our old customer, as I was mentioning beforehand, that has maybe been with the brand 40, 50 years, they're probably not the most socially aware customer. So it's about how can we have different content on different platforms to really target a different type of customer. So we were experimenting with kind of more light-hearted content on TikTok and how can we make it feel a bit more authentic. But then on something like Facebook, where it does have that slightly older demographic, you know, how can we also target that and perhaps play on the emotion of heritage and go after that older customer that way? So I think for us, it's about not just one size fits all, and it's kind of like how do we change that for different customer bases?
How have you navigated that like channel split, like looking at all those different, because you're quite like a lean team, aren't you, at the minute as well? Like, have you found it difficult producing enough content in the volume that you need to sustain all of these different channels?
Yeah, it's something that has been very difficult, especially like you say with a lean team. I think it's something you have to be so on it with and so regimented with to get it right. And I think, to be totally frank, we're only just starting to get it right now. And that's content that we put out visually, you know, video content, images, but it's also written content. We are having to invest a lot more now in written content and written storytelling, but not just noise that is words on a page, but, you know, how does it actually add value to a customer journey? How can we educate, or how can we tell that story, you know? So yeah, it's been difficult, but I think we're getting there now in terms of output and, like I say, planning that content in where we can.
Do you find like it being like the heritage piece, does it ever become like a constraint rather than a strength, like across like your digital channels?
I think it can be, and I know quite a few of the brands struggle with this as well, but for me, heritage is like we've got that customer base, and we have that, we're in the forefront of people's minds, or maybe we have that, they know the brand, but if someone asks you in the street, name me 3 sailing brands, you know, you probably might not say Henri-Lloyd, but you would then prompted would go, oh no, I do know Henri-Lloyd, you're right. So we're in everyone's minds. It's just how can we then bring that relevant and make us relevant now to people? So how can we be in the forefront of people's minds? How can we be in the media that they're viewing? How can we be, you know, even if it's in person, how can they see the brand? So it's not necessarily a constraint. It's just about how can we turn that into relevancy now. And
with like community is like a big thing now in e-commerce and for e-com brands as well. Do you find that's something that the brand is trying to push a little bit more? Is it something that you've been asked to focus on?
Yeah, I mean, a community has to be a part of anything you're doing these days. So it's something we're working on and we're trying to build. As I say, that's something we're almost having to start from scratch a little bit. But there are so many brands that are doing it well, and we like the term, or the phrase, democratizing sailing. That is our mission. So while you might have a sport like golf or like cycling that kind of now has been democratized and perhaps had high barriers to entry, but now anyone can go and get into it, that's kind of our mission now for sailing. So while someone might say, I don't really want to sail because I don't have a boat, that shouldn't be a barrier to entry. So we want to get people on the water. We want to build that community from the ground up. So, you know, we want to be the brand that starts someone sailing, and then the idea is that they stick with us as a brand. And that's not only building community, but also brand loyalty. So I think community is a huge thing, but it's built over time. It's not just an overnight thing.
Yeah, because I think it's like, it's a little bit of a buzzword as well, isn't it? Like, oh, we want to talk to our community, or we've got this community, but there's like lots of different ways that you've actually got to show up for that community as well. Like, you can't just pull off like an ad hoc event once a year and like think that that's what you're building. Like, it's got to be across like numerous different touch points across the whole experience. And it may not even be that it's like they're already a customer. It could be someone new that you're trying to introduce. It could be like in-person events. It could be like a loyalty program. Like, there's lots of different ways that you've got to show up for them to start building it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, community is built, not just stated or spoken. You know, community is more than just words on a page and us stating we have a community. It's like, how can we actually provide value to this group of people? So for us, it's like, how can we provide value to sailors, whether that is someone that is actually not a sailor yet and wants to get into sailing, or someone that is an experienced sailor that's been around for however long. Like, it's about providing real community, and that then hopefully has a loyalty as a byproduct.
And what do you guys do for like loyalty? Is there anything that you've found to work really well there?
So we've just started a bit of a new loyalty scheme that is not only is going to grow. So it's not only just about points for purchase. I think a lot of people are doing these days. It's about how can we really build something fun and some gamification a little bit, and something that people want to get involved in. I mean, someone that I've seen, I can't remember the name of the brand, I think they were called Sum, and they're a sock brand, and the website maybe has 8 pairs of socks online. Like that's literally all it is. But they've integrated Strava with the website. It has a really cool app-like dashboard. Every time you go on a run, you earn points. So it's just about how can we encourage what we want to encourage and is part of a community, but then how can we link that to a loyalty scheme, and how can we kind of give back for encouraging that behavior? So we're at the moment trying to get more people to clock their sales on Strava. So if you go out sailing, put it on Strava, join the community, start posting about it. And for me, it's these kind of little things that it's not just you getting points for every time you purchase.
It's a bit dead that now, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's a bit boring.
And, we want to kind of take that then a step further and go, well, if you complete this challenge, this sailing challenge, we might bump you up a tier, and you get the benefits of that. Or you start talking about us on social media, those sort of things. Like it's not just points for purchase anymore. And I think that's where some brands are starting to go wrong.
Have you done other things with like gamification? Because that's something that we're often kind of talking to brands about, like particularly across like different touch points in the customer journey. Like what have you found that's worked well for you guys there?
I think there's a fine line with gamification between tacky and actually providing value. So for us, and what we've got kind of coming up this year is like, how can you take a customer on a journey to find the right product? So whether that's finding them the right jacket for where they're going sailing in certain conditions, or whether that's like what is the right layering system to be wearing. It's about taking a customer on that journey, educating them, and kind of doing it in a fun way where they want to find out about the product. They're not just reading through a whole load of text on the site. It's let's make it interesting, let's give them something to really go and find out, and that's something we're going to be experimenting with this year.
And do you think that some brands like end up overusing that word community? Massively. I think, as I was saying before, it's earned, it's not just spoken. So I think a lot of people like to say that they have a community, but like, do they? And I think it ties into loyalty as well, because loyalty is something that you don't just get, and we're in an age where customers can literally go on the website, go on the internet, and find any brand. They can compare any brand. There is so much choice out there. It's why should customers come to you? And for me, that's not just by saying that we have a community or saying that we want customers to be loyal. It's about how can we actually create that emotion, and how can we have customers that want to come back to us. Maybe we are slightly more premium, but therefore slightly more expensive. But why does a customer want to come to us? And it's kind of really trying to build that relationship with the customer. And as part of like your role, if you had to do a lot around like the demographic piece and like really digging deep into like your data that's coming through.
Definitely. I think the data is a big one. And I think it links into AI a little bit as well, in that there is so much data you can have now. And it's about kind of how do you use it, how do you utilize it, and perhaps how do you then start to diversify what you put out to meet that different audiences. The performance marketing is a great example, like across social media, is that people want different content, people want different things. Back when Oasis were in Manchester, we put a post out about Oasis, and it really triggered that whole side of the database that we had, in terms of people wanting to see about our links to them and how we kind of service that customer. So we know we have that as an active customer on social, but then it's like, right, that's probably a lot of the customers that don't want us now that we're a sailing brand. And it's about, right, okay, how can we actually start to capture and make interesting content for the customers that probably are going to be with us going forward as we keep transitioning to that technical sailing brand. So I think you have to look at the data to see where you're going to go, and it's just about having that at your fingertips to kind of make the right calls. Have you had like any successes with, like, because there's like hundreds and thousands of tools out there that you can use for all areas of like your site, and has there been anything specifically around like data that you found to be really useful, or are you just sticking to the Shopify dashboard and GA? I hate to say it, but I hate to admit it, but we use Shopify dashboard and GA far more than I would like to admit. But what is great now is I've actually only just downloaded something. I think it's called Data Drew, and basically it's this. I found it online, and it's got this. The dashboards on it are quite confusing, but it's got this AI, and you can just speak to this AI about anything, and it understands what you're talking about. Like I could go and ask ChatGPT and it wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah.
But this AI has all of your info from Shopify, from GA, and it's been a lifesaver the past few weeks. Yeah, you can just ask it anything you want.
How have you found like using Shopify Sidekick? Because that's had like a ton of updates to it recently. Have you been? Are you adopting it, or have you already been in there, or is it not as good as what
you know?
We think?
I don't want to be a self-proclaimed sidekick expert, but
you are.
I'm getting some quite good stuff out of it. I know quite a lot of people in the industry, and they're really struggling, and we're in group chats, and they're kind of like, I can't get anything out of Sidekick. You know, what are you guys using?
Yeah.
I just speak to it like I speak to anyone, and I seem to get fairly good things out of it. So I think as long as Shopify has the data readily available, it's actually getting a lot better.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reports that it can start to pull now that perhaps weren't as self-explanatory beforehand. So I'm having fun experimenting with it.
Is that what you're using it for mainly then, like reports?
Yeah, there's a lot of reports that perhaps if I don't know the SQL, or I don't know exactly what I need from the report, I can just type it in and it pulls up a report straight away. You perhaps have to understand exactly what you want from it first, to making sure you're getting the right output, but I think it's going in the right direction.
I've not experimented with it. And my developers have, like, they're getting into it.
Yeah.
There was like, you can literally build apps with it now.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. Like, we don't know like how good they actually are fully.
I've been experimenting with it on Theme Editor.
Yeah.
It's not quite there yet.
I've done Theme Editor. Yeah, like I think in the next like 12 months, like it'll be amazing. But until then, agencies, you are safe.
I know. Yeah. No, you're right. Agencies are safe. There's no end.
But it's around, like, I was speaking to like our head of web, and he was saying, you know, like he's really glad that he understood code prior to AI, because now like developers, like they can't understand where things have broken, or like when you're just plugging in some code, like, and it's not quite pulling through as it should. Like you need to be able to decode it and understand like what you've actually built.
Yeah, I mean, I'm my developer's worst nightmare at the moment, because back in one of my previous jobs, the whole website was HTML, so I kind of got used to having to just go in and edit things when I need to. So now in Shopify, I will just happily go into the code, change some things, perhaps run it through ChatGPT if I need to, and it's fine, like it works. But then they're trying to push changes to production, and things aren't updated, and I've given them a headache, I'll be honest, but it's just about how we can move faster. So I need to perhaps conversate with them a little bit better.
Let's talk about like personalization, because I feel like we went through quite a high with personalization, and I do feel like it's like tailed off like last year. Like it wasn't, when I've, you know, speaking to like brands and they're looking at refreshing the site or moving across to Shopify, like it wasn't like a number one thing that they had to have. Like, where do you guys sit with personalization, and what do you think it should be doing for you as a brand?
I think personalization has been such a buzzword recently. When it kind of first became possible with the tech, I guess, it was something that people were just doing for the sake of having the tech to be able to do it. You know, having Welcome Harry at the top of their website. Like, that's not going to make me buy if they've got my name written on the homepage. But so I think it's slowly transitioning from that was just creating a lot of noise and unnecessary tech. Whereas now it's kind of moving to a position where, and in my opinion is the right direction, is there should be personalization, but you shouldn't know as a customer there's personalization. Yeah. So whether you're coming to the site and the whole collection page is merchandised, or re-merchandises based on what your intent is and what you've clicked on, or whether it's loyalty schemes that can change depending on what you're interested in, it's those sort of things that reduce the friction for a customer. And that is where I see the future of personalization. It's not just there for the sake of it.
And is there any other ways that you guys like utilizing AI, either, you know, internally as a company, or like on the site, that is like elevating and becoming like more efficient? One
thing, and there's a very fine line here, but one thing I think is going to be super beneficial is the imagery and video content on AI. I mean, we've touched on content before, but it's so vital for a brand to have enough content and to be putting out the right content. But sometimes you can't be as agile as to just go out on a boat in the middle of the ocean and have a shoot. So it's really about how can we utilize AI to get that content whilst keeping it authentic, because we don't want to start doing full shoots that are supposed to feel like you're on edge or a bit dangerous and they've got waves crashing, that sort of thing. And we don't want to be doing that all with AI, because that you lose that authenticity. But it's how can you just kind of pull the levers and play with the right things. So model shots for e-com images, that's something that Nano Banana now is amazing. You can literally build a flow and you wouldn't know that it's AI. So I think those sort of things is where it's going to be utilized. I think also data interpretation. So I'm personally thinking that how can I utilize it to make my life easier? I'm not worried that it's going to maybe take my job. I'm worried that I'm not using it enough to aid my job.
Yeah.
How can it help with painting pictures of data and that I can then go and utilize and kind of think about a strategy behind?
Is there any other, I've been talking about it, but like any other jobs where you think that people need to be more savvy with how they're using it to make sure that it's effective and not a threat?
I think it's just about using it in everything you do. Even if you don't know if it can do it, whatever you need to do, just try. Just use it, just get comfortable with it. My opinion on it is that it's not here to take people's jobs that have a purpose. So people whose job is creative or strategy or anything that is emotive, it's not going to come for those jobs. The jobs it's going to take are perhaps the ones that your job is the task. So if your job is just to perform a task, yes, it's maybe going to affect that, but then it's like, how do you transition that then into not just making your job about the task, but it is how can your job have purpose, and can you use AI performing the task to make your life easier? I mean, it's slightly different to e-com now, but a great example is radiographers in the US. So I was reading about it recently, and there was a big worry that AI was just going to absolutely take over their industry. There was going to be no jobs anymore.
Oh yeah, I think I heard.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because people were really, really worried, and AI has taken over the industry, but not in the way people thought. So radiographers is just looking at imagery and then making diagnoses based off that. I've completely simplified it, but that's essentially what it is. And AI has allowed them to read and interpret the imagery better, so that they can then make better and faster decisions. And that has had a snowball effect of getting through more patients. Hospitals are getting through more patients, they're earning more money, they can hire more radiographers, and actually the industry is booming because they have AI now as a tool, and they can do their jobs better and more efficiently. And I think that is the same to be said across a lot of industries.
Yeah, it's about how you prompt it and be the driver of it, as opposed to letting it do things for you. Like,
exactly.
I use it now for everything. Like, obviously, especially with DTC Live, like there's so much content that we need to uncover from brands that we speak to on stage, or like doing things like this, and it's like it just helps you unlock ideas that you wouldn't necessarily have thought about necessarily. So it's just about how you can use the tool.
One thing I'm still not used to yet is when you're in a meeting and they have an AI note taker and they start talking to the note taker in the middle of the meeting.
I know I've never done that.
I'm not quite there yet, but I see a lot of people do it, so it must be useful.
Yeah. Let's talk about like the website and a little bit about kind of the experience that you're trying to portray there. Like, obviously, like, you guys want to be pushed as like a premium e-commerce brand. Like, how does that influence things like pricing, like user experience, and all of like your merch decisions and things?
I think it's about being confident in who you are and the decisions you're going to make. So it's confident that you're putting out the right product. It's confident that that product is at the right price, and it's confident that that product serves a purpose in the market. So for us, it's less about making excuses or trying to find a way to push product on you, perhaps a discount or anything like that. It's like, we make the product that is right for you, and we truly believe that. We truly believe we are the brand that if you are wanting to go out sailing, or you're wanting to even just chill by a marina on, or whatever it is, in that sort of sailing ecosystem, we are the right brand for you. And I think that confidence goes through to everything. It's like we take a lot of time deciding on our pricing. So that is something that we truly believe in, and if a product is at that price and we feel it works at that price, it stays at that price. And I think another brand that do this amazingly is North Face, and they have a core range of product that is not going to be on discount anywhere else. They believe in that product. It sits at that price season after season, and if you want to buy it, they're having the confidence to just leave it at that. They trust the product, They leave it in the same spots on the website because people want to come back for that same product. So I think it's the confidence and kind of how that trickles down to everything else, and making sure that people see that you have the confidence in your product and the brand, and that translates.
DTC Live On Air is powered by Bright Pill by Sage. And how often are you like reviewing? I imagine that you've got like heat mapping and things on site now. Like, are you actively looking at that to make decisions around like the user experience and the conversion rate?
100%, yeah. The user journey around the site is something that is so key for us. Like, how can we reduce clicks? How can we reduce friction for customers and just make things easier? We see quite a lot of people perhaps really taking a step too far in certain areas. So it's like, how can we rejig things? How can we really optimize for mobile is another big one. A lot of brands, because everyone sits at desktops all day, they just think that's the website. And I mean, 75-80% of customers are on mobile. So you really need to be thinking about it like that, reducing the friction of the mobile journey, and just allowing customers to find what they need on your site.
Yeah. And what's been some like the key tools for like that search and discovery that you guys have used?
I must admit, the one we don't actually use right now, but I have used in the past, is Content Square.
Yeah.
And it's been super useful. They've been so helpful, just in terms of customer journey and heat mapping, like you say. It's a really, really good tool, and they've rebranded slightly recently, and I haven't used it since then, but previously we used it, and it was great. You could see the full customer journey. You could see who was clicking from what and it was visualized in a really nice way.
Yeah.
So they're definitely someone I would say has helped us a lot and helped me in the past.
And do you guys, is like CRO a big focus for you? Like, where's your conversion rate at the minute?
It's getting there. It perhaps wasn't where we needed it to be when we first launched Shopify. I mean, we were speaking earlier about how we only launched Shopify just over a year ago now. And it perhaps wasn't where we needed it to be because of developer constraints and other things. But we're now starting to get it into a position where we are happy with it. We're A/B testing things, and we're really making those better, more educated decisions. I think that being said, as someone that works in e-com, there are a lot of things that are just common sense. It's like, there's no point sitting there A/B testing and waiting a month, 2 months to get the data back. Just make the change, and it's if you know it's going to improve things and you know it's common sense, just get it done. And we're actually starting to notice a much quicker path to getting where we want to be from just making those decisions. So I think it's about kind of assessing what do we need data on and what can we just make a reasonable decision on, and actually just copying some competitors from every time to time. If there's a bigger website than you and they do something well, just look at what they do. And I think that's actually something that people won't admit a lot of the time, but everyone does it.
Do you spend a lot of your time like doing that competitor research then from, well, it's more from a visual point of view, isn't it? Like, what are we not doing that we should be doing? Or
I think we're fairly lucky in the sailing industry that we have a few core competitors that we can keep half an eye on if we need to. I tend to look outside of that for the real best-in-class digital experiences. Yeah, you're right. So it's about how can we educate a customer, how can we take them on that journey, and perhaps how are other brands that, even if they're not a sailing brand, also taking customers on that journey. There are so many great brands out there, that some really big and some quite small, that do digital really well. So for us, it's about how can we take the best of that and bring it to our site. Yeah.
What's been like a surprising test that you've done from a CRO or from an A/B testing point of view where you didn't think it was going to perform, but it's actually been a real big winner?
One that is not from my time at Henri-Lloyd, but from previously, is we literally changed the shade of red on the sale tag on the product page, and we saw sales go through the roof. It was literally a shade of red change, and it changed so much. So to me at the time, I thought, I don't know why we're doing this. Like, it's probably not going to do anything. But it's actually opened my eyes to kind of like the small psychological changes that really have a big impact.
And I mean, I agree. Like, you should always have like a just do it. Like, we don't need to test these. Like, these are our quick wins, low hanging fruit. But obviously that'll keep refreshing over time as well. And then you should have like your list of tasks that you want to kind of work through. Do you have like a set amount that you're running on a monthly basis?
We're doing our best to get 1 or 2 going a month. We're such a small team at the moment, we kind of don't want to spread ourselves too thin. But that being said, I like to always have something on the go, whether it's a project or whether it's an A/B test or just some sort of development, so that we feel and ultimately the powers that be feel like we're actually progressing things and we're getting better, and we see the numbers off the back of that. So at the moment, throughout as we have gone through the year, we're seeing improvements, and I think that is a testament to the work we're doing to really constantly keep progressing things.
And looking at like discounting, is that something that you guys do? Do you try and avoid, like where do you kind of sit in like discount traps?
We do.
Yeah.
I think this day and age you kind of have to, but it's about doing that in the right way. We're still at a point where we are growing and we're still trying to recapture that audience. So for us, it's about discounting what isn't working and moving past it and using that as a fuel to sort of keep progressing. I don't think we quite yet have the brand recognition to kind of say we're not going to discount. Like, I actually don't think many brands have that these days, to be totally honest with you. So we do, but it's just taking customers on that journey of, while we're this is not necessarily a bad product, this is just something that we're giving you at a good price, or perhaps we're going to move past going forward. So I think it's just doing it in a premium way. Because there are customers out there these days that just wait for a discount, and no matter what industry you're in, there's always going to be that. So it's servicing them, but then it's also, once they're on board, how can we keep them as a customer? We see such high churn rate from customers that just buying discounts. If they've entered as a new customer during a discounting phase, they churn much quicker than another customer. So it's kind of also using discounting as a tool to bring in new customers, and then we need to quickly focus on how do we keep these customers.
So what are you doing from like a retention point of view then? So they've come through, like, are you treating those discount shoppers any different? Are you trying to convert them, or are you just kind of accepting on, they'll wait till the sale period and that's kind of all we'll get from them?
To be honest with you, it's a bit of both. I think you have to try and convert them, but there will always be that type of customer that does just sit and wait for sale. Retention is about not pushing discount to a customer to force them to buy things. For me, it's about how can we make them feel that emotion, how can we get them on board with the brand, and how can we make them want to purchase again. They hopefully have received the product they love, and therefore they want to buy again anyway, but how can we really take them on that journey with us? So whether that's how to wear your product, or layering systems, and teaching them how to look after a product, educating them on the benefits of the product they actually have, getting them involved in a loyalty scheme. Like, there are so many ways that we can turn that customer, even if they were just a sale purchaser that wanted something at a good price. How can we really bring them on board and get them to believe in what we're doing?
Is there anything that you guys are doing on that, like for post-purchase? Like, what are you doing to try and get them to come back and shop again?
So email flow is a big one there, in terms of what have you bought, how can you wear it, how can you wash it, how can you look after it, and how can you have that product serve you for a very long time. Our products are designed to last your whole life, so it's telling that to a customer and getting them to really feel and believe it. So post-purchase is a big one, just in terms of making sure they understand the product they have, they understand that it's going to be there for a long time, and kind of like, what can they then supplement that with, what can work better with it. I mean, a big one for us has been educating on the layering system, and our product team are so on it with this, because if you wear a waterproof with the wrong layer underneath it, you're going to start sweating. And before I worked at Henri-Lloyd, I just thought, well, if a jacket's breathable, you shouldn't sweat underneath. But actually, you need to have the full layering system that is all working in unison to really get the most out of that product. So it's about educating the customer for them to be happier with the product, keep the product for a longer time, and hopefully it lasts them forever.
And that will like transpire across like all activewear brands, regardless of like the activity that they're doing, won't it?
Absolutely. I mean, there is so much work that goes into any technical active product that I can see, because we're such a small team, I see how many hours the product team put into the fabric or the construction. These things that to the outside probably seem quite small, but they sink hours into getting the right decision. So it's how can we educate a customer that we have picked that detail for a reason, and what it does, and how it's going to help them or help the product be better for them.
Have you guys done much with like influencer marketing, like celebrity endorsement? Like where are you kind of looking at?
It's something that we always float the idea around there, and it's a difficult one in the sailing industry because there's not as many people in the forefront of your mind as you perhaps think. We have a lot of ambassadors and we work with some really great people, not all of which are very tech savvy. So it's about how can we kind of get the right content out of them, but also how can we use them perhaps off camera and not just focusing on content, but how can we use them in the product development stage. So the number one or one of the top offshore sailors at the moment is a guy called Sam Goodchild. And we've brought him on as an ambassador now, and he has helped in all of the development of the recent products. So we have videos of him trying things on, he's taking them out offshore sailing, and that's invaluable to us because it's like he's the number one out there, and he's just telling us all this information that we can't get in an office in Manchester. No. So that's kind of where we have seen real good value. And it's about, right, how can we then convert that from in the product development stage to the content that you might see out on social media, and how can we really get the most out of them that way? Yeah,
because there's it's hard with like the influencer and the celebrity piece, isn't it? I suppose, like, if you're going after that specific audience now and you're not trying to bring in a different customer demographic, then you've got to figure out a way of getting them in front. And a lot of brands, especially in fashion, do the collaborations, don't they? And they'll bring in someone to kind of help with that fit. So I suppose it helps with all of like your post, like your marketing costs and creatives and things that you're running there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think actually, you know, some of these people that are sailors and go off and do these really cool things, when they do make content, it's the best content I've seen. You know, as I said, I don't sail that much myself, but I will happily sit and watch a beautiful video of someone sailing, or perhaps they're in really rough conditions, and that's what makes it interesting. Yeah. It's like there is so much cool content out there that they can produce, and they are starting to produce. A brilliant example is if you go on someone like GoPro's website or their Instagram, like, it's just amazing content to view. You don't have to be a GoPro customer. Yeah. So like that's kind of where we want to take it.
And like you've spoken a little bit about the content being undervalued, like where do you think most brands are getting it wrong as they're developing content?
I think it's content for content's sake that doesn't have emotion and doesn't have purpose. It's short-term content that isn't there to build on your brand and doesn't perhaps align with where you want to go. It's just, we need to get something out there fast. So a lot of brands are just, and there are quite a few doing it right, that must be said, but it's making sure it's relevant to the brand and making sure it makes sense, and it makes sense to the customer, and it's not alienating anyone, and it's really emotional. And I think that's kind of where it needs to keep going.
What's your content split around like the different channels? Like, so for TikTok, are you producing more volume to kind of get in front of people?
Yeah, I mean, TikTok's something we've only actually started really experimenting with the last few months. Like, if you go on our TikTok,
loads of brands have said the same. Like, it seems quite late adoption wise, but
I think it's been a weird one in that it started with a lot of discount brands and that sort of thing, but now it's not that case at all. It's every brand. You know, you have your high fashion on there as well.
Yeah.
If you go on our TikTok now, you'll see me doing press ups in the old office in the new at the time, like sailing jackets. But that's the stuff that does well. Or our head of marketing at the time was stuck in the mud while we all went sailing, and like those are the videos that got the most views. So it's like, right, we're realizing that now, and it doesn't need to be quite as polished as perhaps an Instagram or a Facebook does.
Yeah.
So it's the different type of content, but it's actually really cool to experiment with and have some fun.
Yeah. So have you got someone that's running each of the different ones, or are they kind of covering all of the?
So at the moment we have a bit of we have one girl that is great in terms of just being all over content. We have a creative lead that is also having his say on things. We've actually got someone new coming into the marketing team to head that up in a few weeks. So I'm sure he's going to have some ideas. He's got a really exciting background. So that's going to be great for us as well. So at the moment, it's just like, how can we make things that we want to watch and we want to be a part of, even though we do have quite a lean team.
And how are you measuring like the impact of it, like from like a value point of view and an ROI point of view?
It's difficult over to social media, especially. I mean, everyone's going to have their organic social sales, but that is always fairly low. It's about how are we building that brand over time. Yeah. So it's about things like retention and churn rates going down. It's about AOV increasing, because yes, there are plenty of things we can do on the site for that, and that all helps, but social as a platform is something that you build that community, as we were saying earlier, and I think that is not something you will necessarily directly see a transaction for, but it's something that helps the brand grow over time, and it builds that brand heat.
Yeah.
You can have a website that is absolutely horrendous, but if you have the brand heat, you're still going to be converting at crazy, 10%, whatever, because you have that brand heat. So they all work in unison with each other. And I actually think paid social and organic social is again the same. You might think that it's slightly different things, but everything works in tangent with each other.
And to go into like the paid social part, like what's like the focus for you guys from that there? Are you mainly all in on Meta? Is it PPC? Like what are you?
We see a real split. Sale times, when we do go into sale, tends to be very Meta focused. We see much better return there, but typically we see much stronger ROI on Google. We've just brought on a new agency actually, and they're great. They're really content first, and they're already seeing some really good results. So it's again about not just pushing bottom of funnel conversion at people. It's like, how can we have that awareness? How can we really bring the brand in? How can we make the brand cool and exciting and what people want to see? And that having that full funnel is something that perhaps in the past we haven't focused on as much as we should have.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely vital that you are doing all three stages and you're really getting the most out of every different type of content and doing completely different ads for different stages, like awareness is cool videos that anyone might want to see and things that really grip them in, whereas perhaps at the bottom of the funnel you're thinking more about conversion and what people want to buy. So it's just having the full thing in mind, I think, is super important.
And what's like the creative volume levels like that you need to sustain all of these channels?
It's a lot. Our creative lead has been frantically just making assets for the past year or so. But we now actually started working with another agency called Mates, and they're really, really good. So they're project managing things. They do a full content output for us, and we're seeing already the creative lead has so much more time to plan things and really does do the strategy, and they're building out all these assets and getting that content for us that we really need.
So what's next? Like everyone starts new year, new me, new goals. Like what's coming up in 2026 for you guys?
For us, the big focus this year is our latest product launch, Ocean Pro. So it's something that has been years in development for us. We've spent thousands of hours kind of perfecting this product, and it's essentially our way of recapturing that offshore sailing market. So your sailor that goes so far out to sea you can't even see the land kind of sailing, and typically product there has been so rigid and so hard to move in, but it has almost had to be to keep you protected. Whereas we've now spent a long time developing a product that still keeps you just as protected. It's top of the market in terms of its waterproofness, its breathability, but it's a product that is lightweight. You can move in it, and has really been shaped by some of our ambassadors that do race and do want something that is lightweight but does its job. So we have this range coming out, and it's something that we really believe is taking us back to our roots as a brand and really recapturing that market. It's the absolute peak of offshore sailing, and it's something that we as a business are so behind. So it's making sure we do that justice and really bring that to market in a way that we feel like does the brand and also the product justice. So that's a big thing for the business. For myself, it's just keeping on improving what we're doing already. I think we've had a really good year re-establishing those foundations in the e-com channel. Like I said, we moved to Shopify just over a year ago now, and it was a bit of a chance to reset. So we spent the year really building those foundations, and now for me it's how do we improve on that and how do we keep scaling that next year? Yeah.
And do you think that is there anything that you're deliberately choosing not to go after this year? Or is there any changes that you are leaving in 2025?
What are we leaving in 2025? I'm leaving stressing about the small wins. I think there are plenty of things that look really exciting and probably aren't going to move the needle. It's about, as I say, like being consistent with those foundations, doing the basics but doing them well. And I think over the year that is going to have a far greater impact than just those small one-offs that seem really exciting but probably aren't going to move the needle. I think if you focus on the basics, get them right, that is then how you have sustainable growth.
And what do you think DTC brands are going to be apologising for in the next 5 years?
I think they're going to be apologising for over-indexing on emotionless content, over-indexing on the use of AI where it is not relevant. So yes, utilise AI where it's relevant and where it adds something to either you or the customer, but using it too much, I'm sure brands are going to start doing that. But also content that means something, content that aligns with your brand, content that is providing value to either you or the customer. So I think people are going to probably be apologising for doing things wrong, trying to grow too fast in the wrong way. and just putting the wrong things out there and ultimately ruining the brand a little bit.
It's quite a lot of it's quite a lot on your shoulders as someone that's like managing the e-commerce for a business when that's like your primary channel as well. Like everything that you're putting out is a reflection of all the hard work everyone else is putting into the brand as well. So there's a lot of pressure there to make right decisions.
For better or for worse, because I mean, I am, like you say, the end product of everyone's hard work. So I have to do it justice, and we try and work with them as close as we can to really do it justice. And the marketing team, or perhaps the product team, they've spent so long creating something. It's like their baby, especially this Ocean Pro launch. So it's like, how can we do it justice? How can we make sure that we're getting the most out of it? That being said, there's also the other side of it, where if someone else is late, then the next person's late, and we kind of end up being on the wrong side of it. But it's nice to kind of be that person that hopefully does everyone's work justice.
And just for like a final question, I suppose, like for the e-com managers or heads of e-com that are listening, what's one thing that you'd encourage them to be braver about?
Trusting your gut, doing things that if you've been in the industry long enough, you know what is and isn't going to work. You know what's right. Perhaps test where you need to, but trust your gut in what's going to happen. And then also, like I said earlier, just network, just speak to people, be in those communities, learn from everyone that is better than you, has been doing things longer than you, bring that into what you're doing. Just make friends, speak to people, and I think you get so much out of it. Yeah,
whatever you put into community, you do get back in some way.
100%, and it might not be the next day.
No,
it might be years down the line, but that has so much value that you can't just get overnight. So I think it's so important.
Yeah, network.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. That was amazing.
Great. Thank you for having me.
DTC Live On Air is powered by Bright Pill by Sage.